In the dead of night on a rain-slick highway just outside Atlanta, Georgia, where the streetlights flicker like guilty consciences and the air hangs heavy with the scent of impending storm, a routine traffic stop turns into a nightmare corruption and comeuppance. Imagine a cocky cop planting drugs in a black woman's car, smirking as he seals her fate, only to discover she's the iron-fisted director of the DA, ready to unleash hell on his entire precinct. If heart-pounding tales of justice serve cold, exposing the rot in the system that plagues both sides of the Atlantic, from the streets of London to the back roads of the American South, get your blood pumping, smash that subscribe button right now, and join our community of truth seekers uncovering the raw, unfiltered stories the powerful don't want you to hear. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive into this explosive narrative that'll have you questioning every badge you see. The story unfolds on a muggy evening in late summer, the kind where the humidity clings to your skin like an unwanted embrace, and the sun dips low over the sprawling suburbs of Atlanta, casting long shadows that seem to whisper secrets of the city's underbelly. Officer Marcus Hale, a veteran of the force with 15 years under his belt, cruised his patrol car along Interstate 85, his eyes scanning for any excuse to pull over a vehicle, preferably one that looked out of place, one that might yield a quick bust to pad his stats and impress the brass back at the precinct. Marcus wasn't a bad cop by his own reckoning. He just played the game the way it was taught, bending rules here and there to keep the streets clean, or so he told himself during those sleepless nights when doubt crept in. But tonight, doubt was far from his mind. He spotted a sleek black Mercedes sedan weaving slightly, not dangerously, but enough to justify a stop. The driver was a black woman, dressed sharply in a tailored suit, her hair pulled back in professional bun, exuding an air of confidence that rubbed Marcus the wrong way. Probably thinks she's above the law, he muttered to himself, flipping on his lights and siren with a practiced flick. As the Mercedes pulled over to the shoulder, its hazard lights blinking in rhythmic protest, Marcus approached with his hand resting casually on his holster, the weight of his badge feeling heavier than usual. The woman rolled down her window, her expression calm, almost amused, as if this were a minor inconvenience rather than a potential life-altering encounter. "Evening, ma'am," Marcus said, his voice laced with feigned politeness. "License and registration, please." You were swerving back there. She handed over the documents without a word, her dark eyes meeting his with an intensity that made him shift uncomfortably. Her name was Dr. Elena Wright. No, wait, Director Elena Wright, though Marcus didn't know that yet. To him, she was just another driver, another statistic. He ran her plates through the system, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But when it came back clean, a flicker of disappointment crossed his face. Clean records meant no easy ticket, no leverage. But Marcus had a trick up his sleeve, one he'd used before in tight spots. A small baggie of white powder tucked in his pocket, evidence from a previous bust that he'd forgotten to log. It was his insurance policy, a way to turn a nothing stop into a felony arrest. Elena Wright sat patiently in her car, her mind racing through the day's meetings at DEA headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, where she'd just flown in from. As the director of the Drug Enforcement Administration, appointed by the president himself after a storied career busting cartels from Mexico to Colombia, she oversaw operations that dismantled empires of illicit trade. But tonight, she was incognito, driving back from a discreet visit to a field office in Atlanta, her identity shielded to avoid drawing attention. She watched in her rear-view mirror as Marcus pretended to inspect her taillight, his movements deliberate, almost theatrical. What she didn't know yet was that he was slipping the baggie into the glove compartment through a cracked door, his heart pounding with the thrill of the deception. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle," he called out, his voice now authoritative, masking the adrenaline surge. Elena complied, her heels clicking on the asphalt as she stood tall, her 5 feet 10 inches frame matching his gaze levelly. "Is there a problem, officer?" she asked, her tone even, betraying no fear. Marcus smirked inwardly as he discovered the baggie during his search, holding it up like a trophy. "Well, look what we have here. Cocaine by the looks of it. You're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute." Elena's eyes narrowed, a storm brewing behind them. But she said nothing, allowing him to cuff her and read her rights. As he led her to the patrol car, she glanced back at her Mercedes, memorizing every detail. The way the rain began to patter on the hood, the distant hum of traffic, the officer's badge number glinting under the flashing lights. At the precinct, the booking process was a blur of fingerprints and mugshots, Marcus reveling in what he saw as a big win. His colleagues slapped him on the back, joking about the uppity driver who'd learned her lesson. But as Elena sat in the holding cell, her one phone call went not to a lawyer, but to her deputy at the DEA. "It's me," she said softly into the receiver. "Activate Protocol Omega. I need a full sweep on Officer Marcus Hale, badge 4729, Atlanta PD. And get me out of here discreetly." The twist began to unravel the next morning when Marcus arrived at work to find federal agents swarming the precinct like ants on a picnic. Suits from the FBI and DEA flash badges, demanding records, body cam footage, and access to the evidence locker. Marcus's stomach dropped as he overheard whispers. The woman he'd arrested wasn't just any civilian. She was Elena Wright, the DEA Director, a powerhouse known for her zero-tolerance stance on corruption. Panic set in as he realized the baggie he'd planted, sourced from a shady informant, might trace back to him. But Elena wasn't content with a simple exoneration. She'd orchestrated this stop herself, suspecting leaks in local law enforcement that aided drug traffickers. Posing as a civilian, she'd allowed to pull over, testing the waters, and Marcus had bitten hard. As agents reviewed the footage, they spotted the sleight of hand, the planted evidence clear as day on enhanced video. Marcus was hauled into an interrogation room, sweat beading on his forehead, his denials crumbling under the weight of evidence. But the story deepened with unexpected layers. Elena's investigation revealed Marcus wasn't acting alone. He was part of a ring within the Atlanta PD, officers who planted evidence on minorities to meet quotas, funneling real drugs back to street dealers for kickbacks. The corruption tied to a larger cartel operation, one Elena had been chasing for years, with ties to international smugglers operating out of ports in Miami, and even across the pond in Liverpool, UK, where shipments disguised as legitimate cargo evaded customs. As the feds raided homes and lockers, they uncovered a web of deceit, falsified reports, bribes from kingpins, and even a hit list of whistleblowers. Marcus, cornered, flipped on his partners, spilling names in exchange for leniency, but Elena ensured no deals were soft. In a dramatic courtroom scene months later, under the glare of media lights from CNN to BBC, Elena testified, her voice steady as she detailed the betrayal of trust in law enforcement, drawing parallels to systemic issues plaguing police in both the US and UK, from stop-and-search biases in London to racial profiling in American cities. Yet, the biggest twist came when it emerged that Marcus's motivation ran deeper than greed. Flashbacks revealed his backstory, a troubled youth in the projects, joining the force to escape poverty, only to be corrupted by mentors who taught him the real way to survive. His wife, battling cancer, needed expensive treatments, and the kickbacks paid the bills, or so he justified it. Elena, moved by a dossier on his family, confronted him privately in a holding room. "You could have been one of the good ones," she said, her eyes softening for the first time. "But you chose the dark path." Marcus broke down, confessing a final secret. The baggie wasn't just any coke. It was laced with fentanyl from a batch linked to overdoses killing kids in Atlanta's schools. This revelation sparked a nationwide crackdown, with Elena leading joint ops with UK authorities to dismantle the transatlantic supply chain, arresting smugglers in Heathrow, and seizing tons of narcotics. As the dust settled, Elena stood on the steps of the federal courthouse, addressing a crowd of protesters and reporters. "This isn't just about one bad cop," she declared. "It's about a system that fails the vulnerable, from the streets of Harlem to the estates of Manchester. We must root out the poison within." Marcus, sentenced to 20 years, watched from his cell as his former life crumbled, his wife leaving him, his name synonymous with disgrace. But in a redemptive arc, he began cooperating fully, providing intel that saved lives, whispering tips through bars that led to busts. Elena, ever the strategist, used the scandal to push reforms. Body cams with AI detection for tampering, diversity training mandated across departments, and international collaborations to combat global drug wars. The narrative twisted further when a whistleblower from within the DEA emerged, claiming Elena had known about the Atlanta ring for months, but used herself as bait to expose it dramatically, boosting her political clout for a potential Senate run. Accusations flew. Was she a hero or a manipulator? Investigations cleared her, but the doubt lingered, adding shades of gray to her character. Meanwhile, in the UK, the story inspired a parliamentary inquiry into police misconduct, with MPs citing Elena's case as a cautionary tale. Back in Atlanta, a young black officer, inspired by Elena's resilience, rose through the ranks, vowing to clean house from within. Years passed, and Elena retired to write a memoir, Shadows and a Badge, a bestseller that detailed the intricacies of power, prejudice, and redemption. Marcus, paroled after 10 years for good behavior, lived quietly, volunteering at rehab centers, atoning for his sins. Their paths crossed one last time at a conference on criminal justice reform, where Elena extended a hand. "We all deserve second chances," she said. He nodded, tears in his eyes. The story, echoing across oceans, reminded audiences in the USA and UK that justice isn't black and white. It's a tangled web of human frailty, institutional rot, and the unyielding pursuit of truth. In the quiet suburbs where it all began, the highway now bore a plaque commemorating the Right Reform Act, mandating transparency in policing. But whispers persisted. Had Elena planted her own evidence of corruption, staging the entire affair? No proof surfaced, but the ambiguity fueled endless debates on forums from Reddit to British tabloids. One thing was certain. The night Marcus pulled over that Mercedes changed everything, exposing fractures in societies that prided themselves on fairness, urging citizens to question authority and demand accountability. As the credits roll on this saga, remember, real stories like this happen every day, hidden in the shadows. From wrongful arrests in Chicago to stop-and-frisk controversies in Birmingham, UK, the fight continues. Elena Wright became a symbol, her face on billboards advocating for change, while Marcus faded into obscurity, a cautionary footnote. Twist upon twist revealed not just personal vendettas, but global conspiracies, with cartel bosses in hiding, plotting revenge from Colombian jungles to Scottish highlands. Elena thwarted an assassination attempt, her quick thinking, honed from years in the field, saving her life and leading to the capture of the hitman, who spilled secrets about infiltrated agencies on both continents. The narrative delved into Elena's past. Orphaned young in Detroit, rising through ranks via sheer grit, facing sexism and racism at every turn. Her appointment as DEA Director was historic, the first black woman in the role, but it came with enemies. Marcus, unknowingly, had been a pawn in a larger game, his handlers tipping him off to problematic drivers, unaware Elena was the ultimate target. When the full extent unraveled, it exposed a mole in the DEA itself. Elena's own deputy, jealous of her success, leaking info to the cartel. The betrayal stung deepest. In a climactic confrontation in a dimly lit warehouse, Elena faced him down, gun drawn, forcing a confession broadcast live to agents waiting outside. Justice prevailed, but at a cost. Elena stepped down, scarred but unbroken, founding a nonprofit for police reform. Marcus, reformed, joined as a speaker, sharing his story to prevent others from falling. Their unlikely alliance bridged divides, inspiring laws in Congress and Parliament alike. The story, sprawling across 2,000 words of intrigue, reminds us that in the battle against corruption, heroes and villains blur, twists redefine narratives, and redemption is possible if we fight for it.